Somewhere along the way, you stopped counting. You stopped trying to fill a calendar with people who only drained you, stopped forcing conversations that left you more exhausted than the actual work did. And now you're here maybe with one person you'd call at 2 a.m. Maybe nobody. The world has a word for that, but it's the wrong word. And science has a different name for it. Having few friends isn't a sign of being broken. In most cases, it's a byproduct of a particular kind of wiring, specific, rare, and consistently misread as a problem that needs fixing. These are the 5 traits that explain it. The first, you can't perform interest you don't have. People say you're hard to get close to, cold, like there's a wall up even when you're being perfectly polite. And the honest answer is they're not imagining it. You don't manufacture enthusiasm. When a conversation doesn't hold your attention, your face knows it before you do. And in a world where most socializing runs on performance, the lean in, the laugh, the oh my god, same, your inability to fake that response reads as distance. Mark Snyder at the University of Minnesota first identified this in 1974 through what he called the self-monitoring scale. His research, and the decades of work that followed it in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, consistently found that low self-monitoring individuals, people who don't adjust their behavior to meet social expectations, form fewer relationships, but the ones they form are significantly stronger. Most people make 10 friends and keep 2. You just skip to the end. The second, you process alone, not in groups. Your best thinking doesn't happen in conversation. It happens at 11 p.m., driving, in the shower, in the quiet after everyone's gone. You work things out internally before you're ready to say them out loud. And that delay, that silence, reads as disengagement. Dr. Marty Olsen Laney, who spent years studying introverted nervous systems, found that introverts use longer neural pathways to process social information, routing through memory, planning, and emotion before responding. Where an extrovert's brain surges on external input, yours runs on something slower and deeper. That's not a malfunction. That's a different kind of engine. They need constant noise. Or they assume something broke. The third, you can tell when something's off. You read people accurately, not perfectly, but early. You notice the slight shift in tone, the word choice that's off by 1 degree, the smile that doesn't reach the eyes. And once you notice it, you can't unknow it. This is what makes a lot of socializing feel like labor. Not because the people are bad, because the gap between what they're presenting and what's actually happening is too loud to ignore. One man I know learned to stop apologizing for this. He was at a birthday dinner, 12 people, some he'd known for years. Someone was telling a story, working the room, keeping everyone laughing. He leaned over and said quietly, "He doesn't want to be here." His wife looked at him like he'd read something off a page no one else could see. The guy left early that night, texted the next morning that he and his girlfriend had just ended things. He hadn't told anyone at the table. Research from the Max Planck Institute found that people with high social cognitive ability, those who accurately read emotional states in others, report significantly more emotional labor in group settings and consistently tend towards smaller, higher trust networks as a result. You're not avoiding people, you're saving yourself from a particular kind of exhausting performance. The fourth, you've already done the pruning. Most people spend their 40s realizing not everyone from their 20s belongs in their life anymore. You finished that work earlier. It wasn't comfortable. It probably didn't feel like a choice at the time, more like a slow disappearance you stopped trying to reverse. Robin Dunbar, an anthropologist at Oxford, spent decades studying the social brain hypothesis. What he found was that human beings have the cognitive capacity to maintain roughly 5 genuinely close relationships at any given time. Not 20, not 50, 5. Most people spend their lives trying to keep 35 warm and wondering why none of them feel real. You stop doing that. Dunbar didn't call it loneliness. He called it capacity. Here's where I need you to stop for a second. Is your small circle the result of choosing carefully? Or is it armor you built because trust cost you too much the last time? Both look identical from the outside. Both produce the same quiet, the same distance, the same face people call hard to read. One is a foundation. The other is a wall. Only you know which one you're standing on. The fifth, your sense of self doesn't need witnesses. Most people need someone to see them, to confirm they exist, that what they've done matters, that the version of themselves they're carrying around is real. That need drives a lot of friendships. It's not shallow, it's human. You have it too. But yours is quieter. And somewhere along the way, you learned that giving someone that kind of power over how you see yourself is expensive. So you stopped. And what looks like independence from the outside is something more precise. It's sovereignty. Dr. Edward Deci and Richard Ryan, whose self-determination theory was developed at the University of Rochester over several decades, found that people who act from internal values rather than external approval consistently score higher on long-term well-being, stability, and satisfaction. They just don't always look happy from the outside. If you're a man, society has a specific cruelty for this. Men with few friends get labeled as loners, red flags, failures at basic human connection. Nobody asks whether they're simply selective. Nobody considers that the expectation itself, the group chat, the boys' trip, the golf foursome, might be built for a different kind of wiring. You're quiet doesn't mean you failed at something. It means you refused to perform a version of friendship that was never yours to begin with. If this is the first time someone put this into words for you, follow for more on the psychology of quiet intensity. A small fire burns longer than a crowd of sparks. The people who belong in your life know how to sit with that kind of warmth without needing it to be a bonfire. Which of these 5 felt the most accurate? Drop it in the comments. And if you know someone who spent years wondering why their circle never got bigger, send this to them. Sometimes just having the right name for something changes everything.